Bieber convention. I'm telling you that right now.
Kenny Dashow.
It just never happens. That one time, the music goes, this band, 3 generations and now on the 4th. 50% of the people who listen Sunday mornings on Breakfast with the Beatles are under 18 years old. How does that happen? That's because you guys are passing it along. That's the amazing part of it. And part of, how many, is this your first fest? Welcome to our craziness. Welcome to our Beatle family. It's this nuts all the time, and we have a blast all day, all night. You picked the perfect place in the world to be. Part of it is about bringing up great musicians and bringing us closer to the music and the Beatles and the people who played with it. So it's my thrill right now to bring up a fellow Brooklynite. Any Brooklynites? Hey, how are you? Fellow Brooklynite. You may have heard him, the Sledgehammer, Peter Gabriel, that's him playing sax. Foreigner, played with John Lennon. He's currently playing once a month. What a great gig with Billy Joel at Madison Square Garden. And Ringo's music director, please welcome Mr. Mark Rivera! Do we have a wireless mic for Mark? There we go.
I just want to say, how cool is it to be introduced by Ken Dashow? Now, come on, really, Ken Dashow, Q, the voice, the main man in the Q. I love him.
We're having a bromance going on here.
We're secure enough.
Yes. How are you?
Outstandingly well, Ken. Thank you. You?
I'm great. So this past Monday, during the snowstorm, I want to start there. Billy, Madison Square Garden. And I heard that Billy might just be a Beatle fan.
Yes. You heard the story. Yeah.
So you pulled out all these Beatles songs?
We did a couple. In fact, during River Dreams, when he goes, well, if I what I'm looking for, stop. And he said, like, no, that had to be what. So he always inserts a song where the city we're in, and he looks at me like, I said, Hard Day's Night.
Did you really?
And we did a whole chorus, we did a verse, chorus, and we went back, and then in the middle of the night, but it was, the place erupted, because I gotta say, that was one of my better moments.
Great call on that. Great call.
And just before the show, Billy mentioned, he said, you know, Paul and Ringo are gonna be taping tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. I said, do you want me to call my drummer? And he looked at me like, so I took out my phone and I called Ringo. And now Billy's looking at me like,
wait, are you hearing this? Mark calls Ringo.
And Billy's looking at me like, but to see the level of the love, I mean, how much we adore and how much we, the influence that the Beatles had on when you think about it, like, oh, I'm just a fan. Billy Joel is, to me, the American songbook. And he, am I right? Billy, with all that he has and all the amazing songs that are in our heads and in our hearts, he is a huge Beatle fan. And when I mentioned, I said, well, Ringo can't come out, he goes, okay, I think he kind of downplayed it, like, really?
But for that moment, he was
like right there. And again, we all owe, I'll speak for myself, I think I speak for everyone here, the culture, our taste in music and our love for it started on February 9th, 1964, am I right?
I'll share a line that Steven Van Zandt said on Breakfast with the Beatles years ago, and Mark co-hosted the last one for me in the spring. It was a blast. Steve Van Zandt said on February 8th, 1964, there were 200 rock groups in America. On February 10th, you couldn't buy a guitar in the continental United States.
It's absolutely true. It was this exponential growth. I mean, they probably sold maybe 100 guitars a month.
Right.
At top, they were selling 1,000, probably 100 a day easily. It turned it all around. So.
You know, I never asked you this. He grew up in Brooklyn as a 10-year-old, as we were all watching it together. What was your Beatle experience as a kid that night?
My Aunt Iris was my godmother. I was at my father's Puerto Rican background. I was at my abuela's house. Abuelita, okay? So I'm up on 99th and Park Avenue in the project, and my Aunt Iris takes me out. Actually, it was Titi Iris, okay. My Aunt Iris went to EJ Corvettes.
EJ Corvettes.
Right? Now, how many people know what the EJ stands for?
Go ahead.
8 Jewish, that's it.
8 or 11. 8 Jewish Korean vets.
EJ Corvettes, good man. And that's where I bought my...
That means we're old.
My Aunt Iris bought me the Meet the Beatles record, and I hadn't really heard it. I hadn't heard the songs because I was playing stickball or whatever I was doing. I was playing football. It was February,
of course,
and in the street. And I heard the record straight down, and I was like, "Wow, these guys are really good." I remember John had that with his boot, and I said, "Dude, I want to be that. I want to be that cool someday." And then I saw them on the show on Ed Sullivan, and I said, I want to do that. I want to be a part of something like that. And I'm going to shout out my lifelong friend John Grado is here. There he is, John Grado, Grado headphones and stylist. He and I were the Junior Beatles together, and the most important thing was we were like, part of something that was changing. And music, the Beatles were everything. And as you mentioned, that your listeners on Sunday morning, is it?
Yeah.
It's incredible, and it's just because it's great music. I believe it'll always be there.
Now, for Mark, who's just insanely talented, Juilliard.
No, it was actually performing arts.
Oh, performing arts. That's the Fame High School.
Yes.
But you have that much talent, and you go from a kid seeing, I want to do that, to playing with John Lennon.
That was the first time, yeah.
It's the thing that we all wish we could say, is not just meeting them, but making music with them.
Yeah, well, and outside of my family, Ringo being my friend is like it means the world to me. I had to tell him I couldn't do the next tour, and I was broken up. But he told me, he said, I love you, I'll always love you. And his friendship means everything to me. It's not unlike yourself, Ken. I gotta say, I love Ken.
It's a bromance going. Give us a Ringo on tour story. The music's incredible. You're the music director for Ringo's tour, but tell us a story that still blows you away, something that you are gobsmacked by.
There's a 1,000 of them, but the one that I will share, they won't get anyone in any trouble. We had trouble with our monitors in Denver, and the monitors are these speakers here, so I can hear what I'm saying, and they refer to them as the fallbacks, which is, so they weren't working that night, so we had to use, instead of the monitor system, we had to use the front of house wired back into it, so we were hearing what the house sounded like. Which was great. We had a great night, and while we're on the plane, on Ringo's private jet, okay. While we're on the plane heading to the next city, I kind of jokingly asked, because I knew at Shea Stadium there were no monitors. They couldn't even hear the PA system. I was kind of being a bit of a wise ass. I said, so did you ever not have monitors? He goes, monitors out. He said, I did a show one night, all to shut up on these bloody cymbals. I said, and how was it? He said, they loved it.
There's that amazing image, the first show they played in Washington, D.C. Great security, the Beatles, there's Pop on a stool, which is the only barrier between the Beatles, and they're playing around, and after every 3 songs, Ringo has to get up, turn this, and has to turn the thing around, and they're helping him in the sing. I mean, that's how innocent a time it was. Absolutely. 50 years ago.
Absolutely. And so, speaking of the innocence, we had just lost our president. We were a fragile nation. And when they came here, they brought us, as Prudence said yesterday, the message that they brought was hope. They brought us hope, they brought us love, and they brought us songs that are in our DNA at this point. So I feel like I gush like I'm talking about my first girlfriend when I talk about them, but I have no shame to say how much I love the Beatles.
Yeah, no, it's not an accident. It's not if it was about the haircuts and the suits,
That would have ended in 1966. Like all pop bands have this very short white heart arc that goes way up and down, and you're done, and the next one comes in. I mean, imagine my reference, something that I mentioned it's on New York One now. Imagine going, in 1964, you write, "She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah." In 1966, you write, "Turn off your mind, relax, and float downstream." How does that growth happen?
They were just incredibly in the moment. People ask me about what is it about Ringo, and when I worked with John, it was the same thing. They're so present in the moment, and they're so alive. Ringo in particular would say some stuff. I remember one night coming on another flight, one of the band members had a really bad night, and I said, "I know one thing, that was a great show." And Ringo turned to me and goes, "You don't know anything." I said, "You feel, but you don't know." What he's saying is that's what we feel inside. I learned very much that night to not say that it's not what I know, it's my opinion, but to respect everyone else's feelings. The bass player had a bad night, so I thought it was a great show. Does that not mean he had a bad night? No. He's always present, so.
Were you nervous walking in the door?
I'm nervous when the phone rings. I'm nervous.
How old were you when you were playing with John?
75, 22.
I would pass out. You're 22 and you're walking in not to meet John Lennon, but to meet him and play with him. I would pass out cold. I would hit the ground.
Pretty crazy. I was playing in a band at the record plant. We got to back him on a couple of tracks.
What tracks?
We redid Imagine for the TV track, because we did the tribute to Sylvia Grove, but he was also producing a Gary U.S. Bonds record. And he's in there saying, "Oh, this," and I'm like, now I'm looking at the Rubber Soul record, thinking about talking to John, thinking this is freaky. But it's what it was. It's what it was.
It's a remarkable life to have played with John Lennon, to have played with Ringo all these times. And Mark has the most remarkable solo album coming out called Common Bond. You have not heard it yet, but believe me, you will, and it is fantastic.
Thank you, Ken.
I am his friend, and I would be polite no matter what, but I am telling you, it's one of the great albums we'll ever get in 2014, and a little help from his friends, from some keyboard player named Billy.
Keyboard player Billy Joel played Hammond organ on my version of Jimi Hendrix's Spanish Castle Magic.
That's so cool.
Yeah, we love Jimmy, don't we? And Richard Starkey actually played on a song that I co-wrote called Money, 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 and he just raised the bar, and Robert Randolph plays pedal steel at the end of that.
Anybody know Robert Randolph? Robert Randolph, Sacred Steel, he's incredible.
Nils Lofgren joined me on, we have some Nils fans, right? Nils joined me on another song, and on the final song, a beautiful song written by Karen Mano called Rise, Steve Lukather from Toto. Do we have any Toto fans? It's all about the music, and the funny thing is everyone that I just mentioned, Billy, Steve, Nils, Robert, all these people, we do this when we think of the Beatles. We're all here because of what they did to us, and they did that to everybody. It's almost like the drop of water, and it's the seed. It was planted and it took off. I don't know if anybody in Brooklyn, the Italians, they have cucumbers. They take over the whole garden. That's what they did. They came in and they took over our culture. Nothing that you know today would have been as you know it had they not had those four young men come together. That's what I feel.
You know, one of my favorite Ringo All-Star Band stories was Colin Hay, Men at Work.
Oh, yeah.
He's a lovely guy. And he said, I wasn't nervous. I played the Olympics when it was in Australia. I played to millions of people. Yeah, I'll be on the Ringo All-Stars. I love the Beatles. Richie, he puts you at ease. Rehearsals going fine. It's all, I'm just... relaxing, no problem. I mean, it's my own song. We've rehearsed it 100 times. We got it. He got on stage first show, and he's doing, Come From a Land Down Under. And he said, I just started, I come from a land down. Oh my God, Ringo is playing the drums to a song I wrote.
Yeah.
What are the words? What are the words? What are the words? when we're growing in thunder, Ringo is playing the drums.
It's true.
He goes, and I start to hype, and I was fine. He says, for 6 weeks, we're fine. And then first thing, he goes, snap out of it, snap out of it. And I just barely got through my own hit song that I've sung for 30 years.
People ask me all the time, they say, so I guess you're kind of used to it, or, and I say, every night I look over, because I stand maybe 6 feet away from him every night, and I play the congas and all this percussion, but he calls them the bongos. I love your bongos. So I'm playing my percussion, and he's playing along, and I'll play something, and he'll mimic it on the drums, and I'll look back, he goes, and I get like a thumbs up from Ringo. I'm like, and what it comes down to is, it never gets, I won't even say, it's never commonplace, exactly. And it's, every night's a thrill, and every night I kind of want to pinch myself, and every night I thank God for my family and him being in it. It's just, it's the greatest thing in the world.
You deserve it, my friend. When do we get to hear Common Bond?
Common Bond will be out on the 18th of February. Actually, I have some cards outside. It'll be available on iTunes and Amazon. I'm sitting out here, but I have to leave pretty soon. I actually have to do a show with Billy Joel tomorrow. But it'll be out the 18th of February, and it will be on iTunes. Please check it out. It's going to be streaming. I would love to say we'll be playing it at the Q. One of these days, God willing.
You will, trust me, somehow you will hear it on Q1043. As Mark has been on Breakfast with the Beatles with me, this is one of the most talented and kindest and most beautiful human beings I know. Mr. Mark Rivera.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you. Q104, the real voice of our Ken Dasho.
Hey, tell Billy we all love him, and we're proud of one of our own getting the Kennedy Center honors. He was like one of us being amazing.